A one and a two and a chick-a-boom a chick.
What's working for a lot of my remodelers right now? They're implementing JobTread. It's helping them tighten up estimating, improve communication with clients, and most importantly, increase profits. I've seen firsthand how JobTread users are hitting better gross profit margins and making faster decisions because they've got the numbers at their fingertips. If you're still trying to manage projects with spreadsheets or a patchwork of tools, it might be time to level up. Head over to JobTreadto and check it out for yourself. I have dozens and dozens of my remodeling clients using JobTread. They love it. Go to www.jobtread.com. Everyone, welcome to the Remodelers on the Rise show. I'm your host, Kyle Hunt. I have a friend, colleague. If I look, which direction? If I look back there, about 30 miles that way, I can even see him. His name's Mark Dixon with Oddfellows Contracting. Say hello, Mark.
Good morning. How are you, Kyle?
I am doing well. I was asking Mark his kind of title. We got designer / estimator / kind of financial report creator / tech support / sales help. All of those kind of mixed into one. Is that a fair long title for you?
It's a fair long title, but I just tell everybody I'm designer estimator.
Fair enough, and that's the majority of it. Oddfellows Contracting over in Williamston, Michigan, is one of the original Remodelers on the Rise clients way back when. I think I was speaking at the Lansing Homebuilders Association. I had hair on my head. I was a young whippersnapper, didn't have glasses then. And that gentleman who owns Oddfellows, Brett Olexon, saw me and said, "Oh, we have got to meet with this guy." And that started a long-term friendship and relationship and coaching relationship. So do you care to sing the Oddfellows Contracting jingle, Mark? Are you a singer?
You know,
as well?
I was told that I do my best when I sing so low that nobody else hears me.
Oh, Nelly. Folks, if you like that one-liner, we're going to cover all kinds of one-liners.
Exactly.
And for those of you wondering at home, it goes like this: Oddfellows Contracting, beautiful spaces. Are there still commercials with that or not?
Yeah, you know, we're not doing as much TV or radio as we did in the past. A lot more digital stuff. So
yes, it's hard to sing a jingle.
A lot there.
It's hard to sing a jingle on a pay-per-click ad. Yeah. So we had our first Rise conference back in August in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Mark and a couple of Oddfellows folks came to it. And during one of the breakouts, we had different kind of groups where one group talked about sales and leadership and production and designers and marketing. And Mark happened to be in the sales one that I was kind of helping facilitate. And as people were asking sales-related questions, Mark held up 4 fingers and told us what that all meant. And then he started talking about spaghetti dinners. Then he started talking about these other things, and people were just taking copious notes. Ooh, I like that angle. Ooh, I like that way of explaining that. And right after that, I thought this would be a great podcast episode. So we're going to talk about kind of some sales approaches, sales tips, some hard-earned experience and ideas that you have there, Mark. But if you could tell us just a little bit about yourself and also about kind of your history in the remodeling industry, and then we'll get into the sales stuff.
All right. I am a father of 3 and a grandfather of 5.
Right.
And my wife and I have been married for 46 years this last year. It's unbelievable. I can't believe it's 46 years already. I must have got married when I was like 5.
That's right. Right. A little awkward back then, but times were different.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Those were different, right?
Yeah.
Been in remodeling for about...
Hang on.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever listened to my podcast, but I tend to interrupt and go down little rabbit trails. Mark, 46 years. What is a thing or two that comes to your mind as far as keys to a successful marriage? What comes to your mind for that?
Well, I follow biblical principles in our marriage. My wife and I both do. And we feel that that's probably the most important thing to do. Communication, love, everything that Jesus taught and that the apostles taught, all those things kind of help us to get along with each other. Now, neither one of us are perfect. I'm probably less perfect than she is. But that's kind of helped us.
Hang on, she might listen to this recording.
Yeah, I should probably,
Emphasize it.
her name is Kathy. She's a
Yeah.
lovely, lovely wife. I love her much. And it's been wonderful 46 years.
Okay.
Not a perfect 46 years, but a wonderful 46
Love
years.
it. Love it. All right. So married 46, three kids, 5 grandkids. And you were about to, I think, tell us about your remodeling history.
So I when I got out of high school, I thought I was going to go into accounting or drafting. So I worked for a plastic injection mold company for a couple of years. Found out I like drafting, but I can't stand to be behind the desk all by myself, not talking to anyone for the full day. So my father had a kitchen and bath shop at that point. So Dad said, why don't you come over and try to work for us a little bit? So I went over there and I did accounting, and I sat behind the desk all day, and I go, I need to learn my lesson. So I went to work for one of Dad's subcontractors that was a remodeler and did most of his work. And the very first week, I think all I did was sand drywall. So even beyond that, I still stuck with it for the last few years. Ended up going into business with another man. His name was Mark. And we did a lot of kitchen installs, graduated into some remodeling, some additions. And then in 95, we kind of went separate ways. And I had met a gentleman in Arizona, Rosie Romero, from Legacy Custom Building, through Remodelers Roundtable. So a group like this years and years ago. And Rosie had told me that if I ever wanted to do something different, he would love to talk to me. So one winter in Michigan, I said, you know what? He's in Arizona. I'm in Michigan. Let me just call him and say, hey, were you serious about it? So called him up and he said, yeah, come on out. Flew us out, moved us out. And so I went to work there back at that point.
So I never knew kind of the connection there. And I approach business from there's plenty of room for all of us. Let me go ahead and give a plug to what some might consider a competitor, a Remodeler's Advantage. Well, there's plenty of room for all of us. So cool that through a roundtable type arrangement, like his company, the company you were working with, or whatever kind of way that you connected, the value of those is we do not need to be out there doing this all on our own. Getting around people that are going through similar obstacles, challenges, learning from people is remarkably helpful. / in your case, it also led to a career opportunity, moving your family. It's just so interesting how sometimes the spider webs of roundtable groups and connections that people make, you just never know where it might take you.
So I ended up becoming one of the owners of that company. And there were 4 of us that owned the company. And I was there till, in 2008, I took a 3-year sabbatical.
Wow.
And I did some things that I wanted to do with our church. And so for 3 years, I did those things. At the end of that, I'm not independently wealthy. So I went back to work for Legacy and became an owner again. And then in 2015, my parents and my wife's parents here in Michigan started to have some issues. So we decided to leave the company and to come back to Michigan to help them. And so we've spent the last 10 years here. Got involved with Brett about 2 years into that journey. And so I've been here about 8 years now, and started out just doing design and estimating, and have kind of
weaved yourself into other areas.
Yeah, I've made myself indispensable.
There you go. That's the way to do it. Very cool. Very cool. Thanks for that backstory. You want to say another nice thing about your wife in case she's still listening?
She has given us 3 wonderful kid children.
Mark, you had a role in that too. I mean, so they birthed the child. Whoop-de-doo.
Yep, we have 3 good kids.
Excellent. I'm just kidding.
And my oldest one is 45.
Well, how about that? Almost a grown man.
Yeah.
There we go. Cool. So let's kind of transition over into the sales side of things. So where does
Okay.
your mind go for that? I'm kind of let you run with it and interject my 2 cents or ask some questions. But if you were imagining that the people listening to this are people that are selling design build work and selling remodeling work, share with us some of the hard-earned wisdom that you've earned.
So, a lot of this, I have benefited from a lot of different people over the years. So it's not all me. I've been through Sandler Sales. I was in the President's Club for about 8 years.
Hmm.
I went through a integrity selling class. Ron Willingham out of Phoenix does that. I don't know if I haven't checked into them. Went through several different trainings over the years. And you know what's interesting? Been to Remodeler shows and listened to podcasts, and you pick up tidbits.
Yeah.
And I try to remember those tidbits. And I liken it to, I spent 15 years wearing a tool belt and doing work, and I still have a tendency to want to buy tools, right?
Yep.
So I kind of feel like in a salesperson's position, you got to have a toolbox. And that toolbox, you don't use the same tool for every single situation, just like you don't in a toolbox. But as you pick up things, I'll be working in the yard and I go, you know what? I would really like to have an electric pruner that has a long arm on it. So I go get it. And that's the same kind of thing you do with sales.
Mm-hmm.
You run into different situations and you go, I don't know how I handle that. I don't know what to do with it. And so over the years, I've heard other things. I've learned things. I like to tell stories. And the end result is that a lot of the things that come up in remodeling sales, I think you can tell a story to illustrate to the person what you're talking about.
A couple things already. One question, have you kind of written these down at all, or is it just more, no, they're just all kind of floating into my Rolodex of sales tools? Over the years, have you kind of written some of them down to remind you of some of these stories or principles?
Yeah, I have that. I was at one point in time, Victoria Downing asked me to write a book, and I have never done that. I thought about doing it. As I get older, I keep thinking about it.
Yep.
But it's just because I've used them so much, they're top of mind.
Right.
And then the other thing that happens is when you get in a certain situation, you go, oh, yeah, I remember.
Yep.
And
so the reason I asked is that I think that's a best practice for if you're out there selling remodeling, like as you come up with, oh, that's such a good story that I can use in that case. Have a document that says remodeling sales story. Start organizing. Yep. Oh, that's how I overcame that objection. That's how I overcame people wanting to see, every nickel and dime on here. That's how I handled somebody asking me about scheduling. Be a student of it. Really, don't just sit there and wait for it to come back to your mind, especially early on. Organize that. The other big thing that I want to emphasize that I heard from you is you are a student of sales. Sales is a skill. I think sometimes we think, well, I've been selling for a while. No. There's a difference between selling and even having some success and being truly a professional and polished salesperson. By the way, being a professional and polished salesperson never feels salesy. It feels very relaxed. You're being yourself, you're being authentic, but you also are smart in how you set up a meeting, how you set up an agenda, how you anticipate objections, how you listen and let them respond, how all of that stuff. So it's a reminder for all of us, be a student of this. And I guess they're listening to this, so they already are. So carry on.
One thing I heard years ago, Kyle, that I have kind of adopted is I heard it was called the law of psychological reciprocity.
Ooh.
How do you like that for big words? And what it basically says is if you give everybody everything that they want, they will give you what you want. Now, it's not necessarily a one-for-one thing, but it's basically like what Jesus said, treat others as you want to be treated, right? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I've learned over the years is I'm not going to worry about if somebody wastes too much of my time because somebody else isn't, and they're going to sign before I even get a chance to do anything about it. Mm-hmm. And through the years, that's served me pretty well.
It's kind of I've never heard psychological reciprocity. I've heard reciprocity of, hey, the more you give to somebody, the more they almost feel indebted to give back to you.
Yeah.
Just really approaching it from like, just giving them ideas, giving them time. Absolutely. And then I'm going to let you continue on, but I also had to stop when you emphasize the stories part. We cannot overemphasize the importance of stories. There was a Jim, I'm sure you know a guy named Jim Rohn, Rohn. I feel like you'd be a Jim Rohn guy. And I just remember seeing a clip of his years ago that was like, we have to be storytellers. We have to be storytellers. And he just emphasized it to make it more memorable. And what you're emphasizing there is you want to sell well, you want to connect with people, you want to build that know, like, and trust. The more you do it through stories, the more effective you're going to be.
Yeah. And so that's kind of, those stories are kind of in my toolbox, right? And that's kind of what I think you want to develop is everybody can have their own toolbox and, you can specialize in different things. But I think that people learn better and relate to things when you tell them a story, because most of us as kids learned stories, right?
Yeah.
We learned about the rabbit and the turtle.
Yep.
What we learned, okay? It wasn't just the story, it was the lesson behind that story. So that's the same thing that I've found over the years that's been very helpful.
Nice. Well, tell us some of these stories and some of these tools in your toolbox, sir.
Okay. So you mentioned the 4 fingers.
Yes.
So when I first meet with a client, I often tell them, I know that they're going to go through a whole bunch of thinking and deciding and a lot of decisions, but I want to help them break it down to here's what's going to happen. At the end of our conversation today, or we get through design, you're going to have one of 4 decisions to make. You're going to say to me, Mark, I love the design. I know it's more money, but I'm willing to spend it because I love that. I picture myself in it. Number 2, Mark, I love that design. Unfortunately, I can't afford it all at once. Can we take it in bite-sized chunks? Can I do the kitchen this year and next year the addition or whatever it is? Number 3, well, I'm glad we went through that. I can't afford to do everything, but there's a couple of things that I never even thought of that I'd like to incorporate into this project. And number 4 is you're going to do nothing and you're going to live with it the way it is. And people will always say, I am never going to do that. So that sets the stage for them knowing, okay, I'm going to go one of these 4 directions.
Mm-hmm. Would you consider that a version of a little bit of upfront contract that Sandler trains?
Yep. Yeah, just because, you're trying to help them to know how to act, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want them to think that I'm forcing them to act the way that I want them to act. I want them to think this is my journey. I get to make the decisions, but I'm helping them to know, well, here's the 4. You can't make any more than those 4 decisions.
Right.
Those are the 4 things you're going to make.
Right. Very good. So out of 100 new appointments, are you busting it out pretty much every single time? Is that one that a tool that you?
That's probably one of the more common ones that I will use almost every time.
Yeah.
I found it very helpful to have some things kind of memorized in my head, right? And to know that, like, when I go to this kind of meeting, here's some things that I will say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a script to some degree, but it's not, I don't offer it like a memorized script. Like,
right. But it's in you. It's right.
Yeah, it's internal, right?
You're delivering in a natural way, but you can definitely just push play on the I was about to say cassette player. I was about to say CD player, but there's a lot of probably. Well, no, I know, but there's probably also some youngins listening to this. They won't even know. Just push that little triangle button on your, I almost said iPod, but people don't know that either. But right, you have it where it's like, man, I've said that so many times. I can just click play. I know the inflection I'm going to use. I know when to pause. I know the emphasis. You're a professional salesperson, but that person hearing it's never heard it before.
They've never heard it.
Yeah.
It's funny. Some of the guys in production, like we have a pre-construction meeting and I will verbatim say to them, now I'll say to the client, now you can Our foreman here will collect all the payments. You can give him all the payments. Just don't make it out to him. And the guys know, are you going to use that again today?
Mm-hmm.
So I think those things can become natural. And you're right that our clients don't know that we've said that 100 times before.
Yeah.
But it does mean something to them.
Yes. Yeah. So I think the couple things, one being the idea of an upfront contract, letting people know, even if you're presenting your design, hey, here's what we're going to do today. 3 things. Number 1, boom. Number 2, boom. Number 3, boom. It gives some structure to your meetings. It's kind to them to let them know what's coming. They're more relaxed in that case. And the last thing you ever say is usually kind of is a clear next step. And again, you will decide if we are going to move on to the next step, or we're going to talk about the next step. So that approach of an upfront contract or explaining what's going to happen is a great best practice. And then what we were talking about of kind of refining your material, the first conference I got on a plane and flew to, it was the first time I was going somewhere not to visit a client. It was probably 6 or 7 years into my business. And I went to heroic public speaking. And I went into that thing going, well, people like it when I get up front and speak. I'm whimsical. I'm kind of funny. I'm just shooting from the hip. And it took me about 2 hours into that conference to go, oh my goodness, I didn't even realize how amateur I was. And they were talking about rehearsing and how you move your hands and where you stand and the gift of a pause to the person talking and the inflection and just really honing your craft and not to make this bigger than it needs to be, but absolutely the more you can hone these sales approaches, the smoother you are, the more effective you are. So that was the 4 fingers. Give us another one. I think we're going to pull out probably 5 or 6 of these tools. And I'm excited to hear what the next one is. What you got?
I'm going to talk about spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
You ready? So, oftentimes people will talk about, well, can you just tell me how much it's going to cost? And I go, actually, I can't. I'd love to be able to pull out and say that I did this exact project 3 years ago for Mr. and Mrs. Smith. But you know what? I've been doing this 45 years. I've not done the same project ever in 45 years. One time I worked on the same style and design of house, but it wasn't the same project. So it's a lot like you telling me, Mark, make me spaghetti. Okay, great. I got a bunch of questions now. Okay. And so let's imagine you and I are walking through the grocery store, because my job in this is to push the cart and put things in it. I'm going to put in it what you tell me to put in it. We're making spaghetti. So I go down the aisle and I go, oh, there's spaghetti sauce. It's called ragu. Is that okay? You want me just to pour some spaghetti sauce on the pasta? Is that okay? Is that the kind of meal you want? And you're going to say, no. I want you to use your skill. Okay. Well, I can start off with spaghetti sauce like Prego. It's a little bit better, I think, than ragu is. And then I can add some stuff to it and make it kind of a combination of a standard spaghetti sauce and with some custom features. Or I can make spaghetti sauce from fresh, right? I can get all of the tomatoes and I can get the basil and I can get the Italian and I can get the sausage and I can blend it all together and serve up a wonderful spaghetti dinner. But then I got another question. Do you like a salad with your spaghetti? Okay, what kind of salad do you like? Let's go over and tell me the ingredients that you like in this salad. Then I'm pushing the cart through and I go, oh, wait a second. There's the wine aisle over there. Do you like a bottle of wine with your spaghetti? Well, what kind of wine? I get that chosen. And then, oh, you know what? Garlic bread goes really, really good. Do you like cheese on the garlic bread?
I do like garlic bread.
See? So I think that part of it, and then here's what's going to happen. This goes back to those 4 things. We're going to push this cart up to the checkout, and they're going to tally it all up, and your mouth is watering because you're thinking of what this spaghetti meal is going to taste like, and then you're going to get hit with how much it's going to cost. Now we can make one of those 4 decisions I talked about earlier. Okay? That's kind of what we're going to go through as this process. And I hope that helps you to understand a little bit about why I just can't come in and give you a price.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Done through story, done through something separate from remodeling, not in a, well, you can choose this countertop or that countertop. I don't know, yeah, I'll share the story. My wife was, I was teaching Sunday school this past week, and it's never a good, I was unsettled with what I was going to share. And it was Saturday at it was in the afternoon. It was actually pretty good. I wasn't waiting until the last minute. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't like what I'm sharing tomorrow. What's that?
Dare I tell this?
Yeah, well, a little bit of that, or it wasn't feeling like, I don't know, it wasn't feeling like impactful, or I'm like, I feel like I'm just kind of pulling this. And I'm very much, and I think a lot of salespeople could be like this, of like, well, let me just tell you the benefits. Let me tell you the facts. Let me tell you this. And my teaching sometimes is like, all right, well, let's read this, and then let's figure out how to apply this directly to our lives and that type of thing. And she leaned me towards, what you need to do is you just need to tell that story. And it was actually a eulogy that I wrote for a dear friend of mine a few years ago. Just start class by reading that eulogy. And you honored him through that. And you talked about who he was and his character. And just by telling the story, they're going to piece it all together, and they're going to figure out how to weave that into their own lives. I know I just took that super deep, but we can't emphasize the power of story enough. Yep. Of I don't need to spell out exactly how the design development process works. I need to explain to you through going to a grocery store and imagining going through and ordering a spaghetti dinner. Most people will go, that makes so much sense. Okay, yeah, we've got so many decisions to make. So, again, story. As an action step, here I go, action stepping. As an action step, write down your stories. Everybody listening to this podcast right now has a story of the person who didn't choose you, chose somebody else, and a few weeks or month in called you back because it was a mess. You have that story. Everybody listening to this has a story. Have you crafted that story? Have you refined that story to share it in 60 seconds to be able to pull out that tool and that story when the opportunity arises? You're back on your heels when people say, wow, that is a lot more expensive than I expected, and you don't know what to say. You can hone a story and all kinds of stories around that if you take your time. Hey there, Remodelers. Quick break from the lovely show today to tell you about a tool I'm seeing more and more of my clients use and love, and that is JobTread. JobTread is an all-in-one construction management software that helps you simplify your sales process, stay on time and on budget with projects, and know your numbers from start to finish. If you're still juggling spreadsheets, emails, and whiteboards, this is the kind of system that brings everything together in one place. Estimates, scheduling, job costing, invoicing, even a client portal that helps you create happier customers. Plus, the reporting tools make it easy to track your profitability in real time. And if you're just getting started, they've got boot camps, a fantastic support team, and an annual user conference that brings remodelers together from all over the country. Go check out JobTreadto.com, and see how it can help you streamline, manage, and grow your remodeling business. Cool. So 4 fingers, spaghetti dinner. What's the next one, Mark?
So, sometimes people will say, well, I'm trying to compare oranges to oranges, right? I want to just compare you guys. I'm getting 3 bids, and I just want to do that because I'm supposed to do that. And so I go, I understand that. I said, do you like tomatoes? I love tomatoes. I can't wait for tomato season to get here because I just want to pull them off the vine and eat them. I says, you ever go to the store to buy tomatoes? How many different varieties of tomatoes can you buy? You ever walk into the store and you go, oh, there's tomatoes, and it's the Roma tomatoes that are in the big bags, and it's like you bite into one and you go, where's the taste, right? It is a tomato. It is a tomato. If you want to get the best tomatoes, you probably pay a little bit more money, right? You maybe get those that are on the vine. If you really want good tomatoes, you'll go to a farmer's market, somebody that specializes in tomatoes and vegetables. You won't go buy them at Myers or Aldi's or Walmart. You'll go to a farm that specializes in those tomatoes, and they'll even have several different tomatoes, and they'll tell you which ones taste the best. I said, that's kind of what getting remodeling is like. Yes, there are a lot of remodeling companies, but not all of them do things the way that we do. You don't have to choose us. I'm okay with you not choosing us, but I want you to know what you're going to get when you choose us. You're going to get that tomato that you bite into, and it's juicy and memorable. That's what you're going to get when you go with us.
Getting hungry listening to you.
So one of the things you'll notice is a lot of my analogies have something to do with food.
Mm-hmm. Why? Because you love food, or because
I love food.
No,
I love food. Yep.
There we go. Next one. Give me another one.
One of the things I heard at Sandler years ago that stuck with me is it's called the feel, felt, found. And it's a way of explaining something or taking an objection or a concern that a client has, and then using that methodology to help to bridge the gap to a different way of thinking. So he starts off with, I understand how you feel. I've had several clients that have felt the same way. When we got through the process and we went through all of this, here's what they found. So you're using feel, felt, found, and you can use that in a variety of situations where you kind of absorb what they're saying and say, yep, I understand that. I've heard, understand how you feel. So you're putting yourself on the same level as them. It's not an opposition. I think sometimes we have a tendency to want to speak too quick and to get right to, no, that's not the case. It's this. Rather than understanding how they feel and saying, I've dealt with other people that have felt the same way. And here's what they found. And then talk about the selection process or talk about something else that you do that help them to change the way that they felt.
Without it feeling personal, without it feeling on the defense at all.
With it not being an attack on them.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that can be very helpful to use that. But that, again, I got to credit Sandler. The Sandler trainer that I went through was Brad Ferguson in Scottsdale, Arizona. And he said, Mark, he says, what I'm going to give you is concentrated orange juice. Don't ever drink the concentrated orange juice. Put some of your own water with it, dilute it, make it your own. And that's kind of what has helped me over the years I just add some of my own water to it, right?
That's great. Here's a question for you. What are you noticing about homeowners here in 2025 that may be different than previous years, that you're seemingly needing to emphasize more? What are you kind of seeing out there as you're selling in 2025 into 2026?
Good question. So I think people are a lot more educated to a degree. I mean, they've got all of this internet things that they can go to. They can download this. They can go to AI and ask it, what should I be looking for in a remodeling company? Who's the best remodeling company? So I think they're more educated, but they know less about their homes. They are educated maybe in some of the processes and some of the thinking, but a lot of folks don't know, wouldn't know how to change a receptacle out in their house. They just have no practical knowledge, and they don't necessarily understand what it takes to do some of the work that we have to do. So sometimes you just got to explain that to them. I said, remodeling is a lot of going backwards before I ever go forwards, right? So we're gonna come into your livable house.
I hope people listening to this wrote that one down. That's a great line. That's a great line that makes them go, oh, what do you mean by that? It's a curious line. It's an interesting line.
Well, and it's the truth, because we're going to tear stuff out that they may go, well, that's perfectly good. I'm using it every day. I can take a bath in that bathroom and I can shower in that shower. You can, but I got to tear it out. So why is remodeling more expensive? Well, number one, it's got every trade in it. When I do a bathroom or a kitchen or an addition, it's got every trade in it that a whole house has. Every single trade. Okay. Now, when I do that, it's not a big job for any one of them. So the plumber comes in, and if he's doing a whole house, he's plumbing the whole house, and he's there for 3 or 4 days. And when I have him come in and do a bathroom and get it ready for rough-in, he's there for maybe 4 or 5 hours. And he's sending a couple guys over there because they got to carry the tub upstairs. And that's one of the reasons it's more expensive. So number one, we're going backwards. We're tearing things out before we ever put them back. Number two, it's a little job for everybody, right? And number three, I've got to oversee all those little jobs. So it is more expensive. And you know what? I wish it wasn't.
Yeah.
I could sell a lot more.
Yeah.
But it is.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've been dealing with this for 45 years and explaining that to people and I've never seen the price go down.
Are you telling me even in the early 90s you were still going up against price objections from homeowners, or is that just today because things have escalated so quickly?
No, and it's been forever, right?
Yeah.
And
right.
It's even been when I was the little guy, right? I still would go up against price objection.
Yeah.
And what I have found over the years is that what did he see? He said the one man that I worked with years ago would have little sayings. He was a turkey hunter, Marvin Robbins, and he would say things like, you got your going in price and your coming out price, and I'm trying to get you your coming out price going in. So I'm trying to be more thorough and examining it and trying to get to everything, so that the price that I start with is closer to the price that you're going to end with than somebody that's just shooting from the hip and throwing numbers at you. He would say to me, roosted ain't roasted. Okay. Well, what that meant is if you're a turkey hunter, you know that you follow a turkey until it roosts at night. And then if you come back the next day, the turkey most of the time is there, but not always. So just because you leave somebody in a certain situation when you've left them doesn't mean they're in that same situation the next time you go back and talk to them.
See, some of these tools that you're pulling out, we're going to use this tool all the time. That one you just used, you're not going to use very often. But oh baby, when you pull that out with a turkey hunter, they're going to go, where do I sign? The fact that you just Mark, the projects. Man, I love this design stuff, but this project is coming in a lot higher than what we originally talked about. I don't know what we're going to do. How do you respond to something like that?
Well, I'm sorry that it's coming in more than what you wanted. I'll be honest with you. The last car I bought was a lot more than I ever thought that I would spend. And there are ways that we can reduce the cost. I'm happy to do that. So let me give you an example. One of the things that you wanted to do is you wanted a custom color in the cabinets in the kitchen. We don't have to go to a custom color. We can go back to a standard color. I can save you maybe 10% on the cabinet cost. That's one thing. But for us to make a significant difference, there is something that we're going to have to cut out that you have said. Now, here's something that can be helpful for you sometimes. Let's make a list of what your priorities are. And let's start with the most important thing, and then we'll see where your list of priorities and the budget pair up. And then if that's acceptable, then that's the way that we can go. Does that make sense?
Very nice. Very nice. It was cutting in and out a little bit there, but I think on a recording it's probably going to be picture perfect. But I liked the way you're describing that, of even the hand motions, if you're not watching the video version, of going, let's make your list of priorities, and then let's see where kind of your budget and the priority list, see how many things we can fit into that. And there was empathy at the start of that. Oh, I know what you mean. I totally understand. And there was also a little bit of, does that make sense? Or, does that resonate with you? I don't know exactly how you ended it there, but all of that is very much, the other thing that I think we have to recognize, and you don't have this problem like I do, Mark. I'm a pretty quick talker. Like, I got things to do. I got things to go. One thing that I've figured out, especially when I'm coaching and I want to emphasize something, especially when I'm trying to get a point across to a team member, et cetera, is I need to slow down my rhythm. I need to slow down my voice, and I need to give some pauses so that the person kind of nods. Oh, they're hearing me. Some people listening to this just have one speed and they talk like this, and that homeowner is capturing about 10% of what you're saying. And I think correct me if I'm wrong, your demeanor is already kind of calm, and your pace is a certain pace. But even if it wasn't, that is a good communication tool. We need to slow things down. We need to get buy-in. Earlier you said, oh, can I tell you about this? And I had to go, yes, please do. That's a great sales best practice.
Yeah, I think sometimes you can just say, do you mind if I tell you a story about that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? and they're going to go, oh no, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
A
that's part of
thousand
it.
out of 1,000 times they will say that.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
And they're going to be locked in going, oh, I love stories. What is he going to say?
Yeah. Well, and I tend to tell them, I've had a bunch of experiences in life and different things that I've been through. And it's always interesting to me. You can take some of those experiences that you've been through and translate that into a lesson learned, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it can be even a lesson learned that when you learned it, it wasn't necessarily about remodeling somebody's house, but you can transform it into that.
Sure. Interesting. Everybody listening, we are all storytellers. We need to lean into that more. We need to craft our stories. I really like the orange concentrate. Like some of this stuff, yeah, just literally swipe the phrasing of the 4 fingers and just go back and listen to that and literally swipe it. But even better, after you do that, after you get some of those reps in, now kind of tweak it, make it your own, put your own little spin on it. It's still going to be orange juice, but your version's going to taste a little different than others. Mark, this was exactly what I was hoping it would be, but we're not quite done yet. I want you to, if you could either say, hey, if you heard nothing else from me in some of these sales ideas, I wanted to make sure that you heard this, and you might want to emphasize something that you feel is really important for people to hear. Or you might say, hey, here's another thing that I use often that I haven't shared yet. So dealer's choice, you can pick either one.
So, I would say become a professional at sales without being professional, right? I mean, I don't consider myself, I try not to come across as professional. One of the things years ago that Sandler said, and go, I just can't do that. It was, when you walk into a house, take nothing in. Don't take a pad of paper. Don't take a pencil. Take nothing. And then they wanted me to feel, the client to feel like I was inept and no threat. And so to me, I couldn't do that. I can't walk in because I feel like I'm not prepared. However, I do feel like if I ask a lot of questions and I try to get their take on things and I express empathy for what they're feeling, and you want to find out why they're doing this, right? Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you've lived with this bathroom like this for 25 years. Why now? What's happening now that you want to do that? And it can be, well, we got a graduation coming up, or we got a wedding, or listen, I have just been.
You got a phone call coming in. Let's see some live. Is that a sales call?
No, it's from somebody here in the company.
Oh, that could have been exciting too. If it was Brett, I would have loved that on a live recording.
So I think that sometimes it's just, we have to express that empathy toward them, and it goes, that idea of psychological reciprocity just kind of is always in the back of my head, is that you give to people whatever they want, they'll give you whatever you want. And so I'm not doing this as to put on, right? It's because I do care about people. Yeah. I do care. I want them to have a great experience in remodeling. And like you said, I've heard stories, and I tell stories about people that have had terrible experiences and have come back to us and go, man, if I only would have known. Well, why didn't they know? Because maybe I didn't do a good enough job explaining it to them at the beginning, right? Maybe I didn't tell enough stories, or I didn't get to the point where I understood their pain. So I think that becoming a professional salespeople, like you said, there was I read a book early on by Og Mandino, The Greatest Salesperson. Great book. But he tells a story in there about this person.
Oh, shocking. Shocking. He tells a story in his book about sales.
Yeah. But I think those are the keys. I think just...
What was the story? What did Og share?
Well, it was a whole book.
Oh.
I'm not going to...
The whole thing was a story.
The whole was a story about this person that became this greatest salesperson and how he did it, But it was... I think you just got to keep learning, right? I've been doing this for 50 years, and as I'm reading Remodeling magazine, or Professional Remodeling, or Pro Remodeler, or listening to a podcast.
Like the Remodelers on the Rise show, or being part of a Facebook community like remodelerscommunity.com.
I've actually listened to you, Kyle, and picked up some things. You know what? I have to admit that.
That warms my heart. That warms my heart. Even a wonderful veteran of this industry, you I'm sure it was probably more not something I said, but something you thought based on what I said. It was probably an adjacent
Well, that's
idea.
it. That's it too, right? I mean, because when you listen to something different, it makes you think differently.
That's right. That's right, no doubt. Cool,
That's my
Mark.
story.
That was absolutely wonderful. If you want to check out more about company he's with, oddfellowscontracting.com. If you want me to sing the jingle again, I'm happy to do that. Just shoot me an email. I'll sing it for you. And Mark, that was wonderful. I would say as a closing remark, the two big takeaways I have is sales comes natural to some folks, but more times than not, and even for the people it comes natural for, learning skills and approaches can really be a huge benefit to strengthening your remodeling business, enjoying sales more, and helping build know, like, and trust with prospects. And then, like we've said once or 20 times, stories. Facts tell, stories sell, as they say. Mark, thank you so much.
My pleasure.